Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Our presentation today is entitled The Temple 5, the Mithraeum of Londonium. We will experience again the awe-inspiring concept of the temple and how to become a master in the holy temple, that is the body, and a worker in the divine laboratory, that is the cosmos. We'll continue to explore Rosicrucian laws and principles applied by the concept and experience of the temple. We'll do so by examining the remarkable story of the ancient initiatic Temple of Mithras in Roman London. In that way, I want to put up a slide for you to prepare us for this presentation and the meditation we're about to have. Now, you'll see before you now an artist's reconstruction and illustration of what the Temple of Mithras in ancient London, Roman London, would have looked like. And you can see in the distance, there's a bridge across the Thames River here, people going about their daily business. Roman ships along the Thames, various aspects of life, and you notice the structure, the stone tiled roof. One of the art and science of archaeology is to try to reconstruct past what have the material realities, but also various aspects of how people lived, worshipped, and how they also interacted with each other. And in this regard, I'll show you the next slide. If we fast forward from the time of the temple, which is around the mid-3rd century CE, up to 1954, you'll see a marked difference in transformation over time. In September 1954, there was excavations of World War II bombing sites from the Blitz in London, as London recovered from that war. And remarkably, as one person who was around childhood years at the time of 1954, similar to this child here, they had the public come and see the site because he realized that from the bombing, it unearthed Roman London, or a major part of it. And there was a tremendous thrill and excitement that a temple from Roman London had been unearthed, a temple of Mithras, temple of great intrigue. And years later, around 2014, one of the young persons that saw the temples and its when they're doing the excavations back in 1954 said that, well, it's generally thought that nothing good came from the Blitz or the bombing of London, but Mithras came to us. And so in that spirit, we'll continue our presentation. And strikingly, in the art and science of archaeology, I say art because it's a craft and training that has to be taking place. The science because it is a science, detailed measurements. There's a variety of the sciences that are used, biochemistry, chemistry, various aspects of physics, and engineering in it. Possibly some of you have been trained in archaeology. One of the remarkable finds at this site was the head of Mithras, which is a god of light, a god of who said to have a remarkable capacity to guide the cosmos and introduce his aspirants to enlightened living. Now, to prepare for our presentation today and in this inspiring image and the tremendous, you can imagine the tremendous excitement of the archaeologists and the public finding this in the mid 20th century. A remarkable find in their midst, and gave them a sense of sort of the ancient history of their city, and indeed all our collective history. You'll notice that the eyes are pointed upward, suggesting a upward gaze into the celestial heavens, which can be used symbolically in our meditation that we're about to undertake. Now, I know many of you are familiar with the Mithraic traditions and the special issue on Mithras and Mithraeism that was in the Rosicrucian Digest. Later, Karen will paste in the chat for you that particular issue of the Rosicrucian Digest. One of the remarkable things about Mithraism is that there's a tremendous amount known, but there's a tremendous amount not known. Part of the great part that is known is through the extensive archaeology across the Roman Empire, stretching to northern England, through into Italy, and even further east. Many of you may have hiked in Hadrian's Wall in north of England and seen some remarkable remains of Mithraic temples, for example, at Hosteds. In this challenge we have is that there's many theories about Mithraism, some coming from the 19th century that sort of have stuck in the popular imagination, but have not have stuck through scholarly work of historians, archaeologists, and architectural historians, and art historians. And so we have to be sort of sober as students, trying to understand. There may be certain things that are quite profound that have been said, but we have to accept the truthfulness if they hold up to scientific investigation. And that's true throughout our mystical studies. One thing in this regard, and I'll mention more along the presentation, there's been what's referred to as the Mithraic ritual, or sometimes in quotes around it, a Mithras, in quotes, liturgy. That's from an ancient Egyptian magical papyri. And it's a most remarkable text, and excerpts of it are given in that Rosicrucian Digest special issue I mentioned to you. And I'll give you in the resources later a very detailed scholarly work on the Mithras liturgy. Some refer possibly more accurately to as a ritual. Remarkably, it talks about elevation, the ascent or elevation through various layers of reality or levels of consciousness that are part of the initiations of this esoteric order of Mithras. In that regard, I'll use some of the prayers and invocatory utterances as part of our meditation today. Because Rosicrucians were very practical. We want to have firsthand experience, not only of outward things, but inward things, and ultimately realize they're one unity. So at this time, I invite you to get ready for a meditation. We will essentially follow the instructions of the key Rosicrucian meditation document, Liber 777, which I'll give you resources on. It's a wonderful book to read and also to keep coming back to as we grow and mature. It's based on the emulation of cosmic impressions or cosmic experience of cosmic consciousness. Now, the divine being of Mithras that's before us, divine being of light, for which we seek to identify with through the divine within. In this way, with mysticism, there's no intermediary. Mysticism means to be one with the one, fully mature as a human being. And inspiring figures such as Mithras are to encourage in his thought in his terms of the inner esoteric meaning. So when you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes and just for a while let go of the cares of the day and just dwell on the concept of Mithras, and that inner being of light, which is essentially one with our divine within. You may wish to take Rosicrucians refer to as neutral breaths, either holding the inhalation or holding the exhalation. With the incoming of the breath, you may wish to sense the increasing presence of the divine within. Let's say the Mithraic or Mithras principle. And with the outgoing of the breath, which I invite you to prolong, you'll feel the stimulation of the vagus nerve and the relaxation response that automatically happens. And that stimulation of the vagus nerve helps balance our autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. And when they're balanced, we come into a state of enlightenment, represented by Mithras. Soon we'll begin our descent that is spoken of in the booklet Liber 777 and also in the Mithras liturgy. Pass through the layers of consciousness into the consciousness of the divine. To do that, let's begin with a prayer and invocation. Look at Liber 777, which I invite you to say with me now. May the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum in a tune of pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. And in compliment, let us utter the Father's prayer of the Mithras ritual or liturgy. O Providence, O Fortune, bestow on me thy grace, imparting the mysteries a father only may hand on, and that too to a child alone. Their immortality, an initiate worthy of this our craft, with which son Mithras, the great god, commanded me to be endowed by his archangel, so that I, eagle as I am, by mine own self alone, may soar to heaven and contemplate all things. Now, initiates, let us ascend. Use all your inner imaginative capacity and psychic faculties to rise up from where you are, up over your surrounding building, neighborhood, local geographic area, city. Keep rising up and enjoy the celestial ascent spoken of in the Mithraic ritual, in the book of Liber 7:7. Picture below you the weather systems, built environment, cities and roads and highways, the landforms, the farm fields, the desert, the high hills, the mountains, the water forms like the lakes, the rivers, the seas, whatever is applicable to your area as you ascend higher and higher, the degree of exhilaration, increasingly surrender to the divine within, the Mithraic principle, as we rise higher and higher into the glorious light. See now below you the province or state where you dwell, and now even the great nation or country. Feel the exhilaration of the ascent faster and faster way beyond the speed of light as we see your continent and hemisphere and the beautiful temple of the earth, beautiful blue jewel rotating about its axis, and the wondrous light reflected on it, satellite, the moon, revolving about the temple of the earth. Now we see the planets of the solar system, and the great fiery ball of the sun, symbol of Mithras. As we rise up higher and higher, let us enjoy the celestial music and harmony of the spheres spoken of since ancient times by initiates and philosophers and mystics. Let us continue to rise past the stellar phenomena of quasars, the pulsars, and even the black holes balancing our universe. Sense now the great action of our galaxy, the Milky Way, rotating about the huge black hole at its center. Let us pass out from the great arm, the Milky Way galaxy, our home, and look back on this wondrous spiraling structure as we look up and see other spiraling galaxies, galaxies in other forms, rising up higher and higher in the spirit of Mithras. We faster and faster, way beyond the speed of light, past myriad stars, the cosmic web connecting all the stars and galaxies, rising higher and higher, applying the law of correspondence, as above, so below, as we rise higher and higher into the cosmos. We go deeper and deeper within ourselves, the divine within, to the very presence and guidance of Mithras. Increasingly take in the clusters of galaxies and even the superclusters of galaxies. Now even a large-scale structure of the cosmos. Going faster and faster, increasingly appreciate what the Rosicrucians call the cosmic, which is the universal intelligence back of the cosmos, the great system and order of the cosmos, and all the natural and spiritual laws of existence. So go faster and faster and rise up higher and higher. It's an initiatic ascent. Sense now the great cosmic axis about which the cosmos revolves. Move towards its midpoint, the very center of the cosmos, the center of our being. And when you reach there, slow up and take in the stupendous harmony and order of the cosmos, guided by Mithras. You may wish now to visualize your personal celestial sanctum. It may be a reconstructed Temple of Mithras, such as Londonium or Ostia in Rome, or maybe some other inspiring sacred structure, built temple on earth, or some inspiring place in nature, a sacred grove, a seashore, sensing the vastness of the ocean and an infinite, or a high vantage point, suggesting the uplift into the cosmos. Fill in the sights and sounds of your celestial sanctum. You may wish to visualize those with us on this conference call now. You may wish to visualize also Grand Masters, the Rosicrucian Order Amorc, the Imperator, the Rosicrucian Order Amorc, conducting a sacred convocation at the heights of the celestial sanctum now. Fill in the sights and sounds and all the impressions, both psychic and material, encompassing the full cosmic keyboard, the full sea of vibrations, existence, possibly symbolic signs and symbols, stained glass windows, depicting Rosicrucian laws and principles, and incense wafting up, suggesting law of transmutation and our ascent to the heights of celestial sanctum. As the incense, smoke from the incense rises, keep filling in this inspiring sacred place, unique to you yet universal, your celestial sanctum. When you've filled in your visualization, just release it to the subconscious mind, knowing that it is manifesting the heights of the celestial sanctum, the center of your being. Just let it go, increasingly surrender and be receptive to the divine within, the master within, the inner self, our true guide in nature. As we mature and evolve and ripen as human beings. Just increasingly surrender to the divine within. Let us increasingly identify with it. Now let us continue our meditation, and I invite you to participate in another spiritual operation of the Rosicrucian Ramlock. Let us undertake the act of metaphysical aid in conjunction with the silent council, the Council of Solace, the Rosicrucian Order Amlock. Let us radiate love and well-being to all those who have petitioned the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order Amlock for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those who have petitioned affiliate bodies for Grand Lodge for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those we know who are in need of guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Just let the love and well-being radiate out from your heart and your mind like a great floodlight out into the cosmos. Recently surrendered to the divine within as it undertakes this action. Just enjoy the tonic effect for yourself and the exhilaration, the exaltation, the radiations of love and well-being. I think you'll find at a certain point you no longer need to make any conscious effort for the flow to occur. It'll even speed up and you know it's reaching those in need. Just continue to surrender the divine within as the radiations continue, as an act of service, fulfilling the law of service. As we continue this period of metaphysical aid, increasingly surrendering to the divine within as we radiate love and well-being. Let your mind expand, flowing out with the rays of love and well-being to fill the cosmos. Let your mind merge with the cosmic mind, the universal intelligence back of the cosmos. We'll apply the law of assumption and the law of cosmic attunement. Let your mind expand as the rays of love and well-being fill the cosmos. Experiences the cosmic mind experiences. Be the cosmic mind. Assume the cosmic mind now. Soon we'll begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum. We now formally conclude our period of the work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, ascending to metaphysical aid. Say together, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Let us continue to meditate a while longer, one with the cosmic mind, assuming the cosmic mind. When we descend from the heights of celestial sanctum, let us apply the law of gratitude to thank those who have taught us well, who have loved us and are loving us, and those who sacrifice will on our behalf. Let's begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum, moving at tremendous speed past the superclusters of galaxies, clusters of galaxies, myriad galaxies, stellar phenomena, and nebula, enjoying the exhilaration of the descent as we take the cosmic sense, the cosmic consciousness with us, their birthright. Past the myriad stars and stellar phenomena on the cosmic web. See in the distance the wondrous Milky Way galaxy and its great spiraling arms. Let us plunge into the great arm which is our home, and past the myriad stars and nebula, planets and asteroids and rogue planets. See in the distance our solar system, the great fiery ball of the sun, on our local star, and the temple of the earth. Let's come back to the hemisphere we left off, the continent where we left off, our great nation or country, province or state, our local geographic area, city. Let us say together, prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum. So mote it be. Let us continue to send our neighborhood, our building, the room, situation where we left off. And we're ready, may wish to stretch and open our eyes, rejuvenated, remade, all the more ready for the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order Amor and our mission in life. Thank you. Now we saw earlier reconstruction by an artist, by an archaeology, what the London Mithraeum would have looked like. And we saw in 1954 archaeological dig underway that was reactivated in later decades, including early in this new century. For a time, the Mithraeum temple had been relocated. Now it's been placed back to its original location and painstakingly reconstructed, which you see before you here. You see the ritualistic East End apse here. Show you detailed plans, the central vessel and the aisles. You see the humans in for scale here. The size of the structure is approximately 18 meters long by 8 meters wide. Mithraic temples were relatively small compared to many larger temples one might see in the Christian tradition. However, there were at least a few larger Mithraic temples, but many of them are typically of this size. You can see the construction here, reconstructed with the mortar, the lime. There was the Roman bricks and put together again. There's the rag stone that you'll see here as well. You'll see that the lines the archaeologists have laid out very carefully to properly align and place everything back where it was. Remarkably, there's been a private, commercial, and a public collaboration. The Bloomberg Corporation with the City of London, and more specifically the Museum of London Archaeology, have worked together to reconstruct, to make a beautiful museum space. I think some of you may have visited this in your visits to London. It's quite remarkable to see this Mithraic temple. You can sense a great deal of energy and thoughtfulness that went into its design and making. I'll show you some other pictures and how they've reconstructed it in this space now that visitors can see people viewing it here. And Mithraeums were identified with a cave that you would descend down in, and that was the same with the Mithraic temple in London. There was a series of chambers, but also a narrow staircase that you would go down into the darkened chamber of the cave of Mithras, where one would be reborn. You notice a remarkable structure at the end here, but also a place where people could seat or have the ritualistic meal. Closer you see here, there was originally what's referred to as the Baroctoni, the picture of an image and sculpture of Mithras slaying the bull. And sacrifice of a bull, of course, in the ancient world, including the Roman times, was an act of sacrifice, suggesting the sacrifice from the Latin sacred place to build, to make, to make ourselves sacred. When we sacrifice Plaulacus, sacrifices we did during our meditation period, we're making ourselves sacred. We do this through a variety of means. One is through fulfilling the law of service, giving back. Over time, in the evolvement of humanity, there's no longer the sacrifice of animals, but it was symbolic sacrifice that we do inward within ourselves. See here now that is done as a modern work of sculpture and outlined with light on it. But it gives a sense of that dynamic action of Mithras with his knife slaying the bull and his cape here. It encompasses the starry cosmos, often is depicted with stars on it. Mithraism, as you mentioned, really had a series of degrees. Many often emphasize that it was for men only, but in more recent scholarship, that's getting increasingly questioned whether that's actually true. Gradually need to be open to learn, as we have, particularly since the 19th century and extensive archaeological work. Here we see the actual depiction of the Mithras slaying the bull with a variety of astronomical and astrological symbolism. We see again Tauroctony, and on it you'll notice images that suggest signs of the zodiac that encompass the universe, just like we're at the center of the universe in our meditation, so identifying with the divine within, like Mithras. Applying the law of sacrifice, the law of cosmic attunement, would draw us into the cosmic realization. There's been various astronomical theories that I'll mention some about it shortly in our presentation. This was the centerpiece. It was at what we call the liturgical or symbolic east of the Mithraeum. This was the focal point of the ritual. One of the invocatory utterances from the Mithraic ritual that I can mention to you is, "O primal origin of my origination, thou primal substance of my substance, first breath of breath, the breath that is me, first fire, God given for the blending of the blendings in me, first fire of fire in me, first water of my water, the water in me, primal earth essence of the earthly essence of me, thou perfect body of me, son of my end father, and my mother, fashioned by honored arm and incorruptible right arm. In worlds that's lightness, yet radiant with light. In world that's soulless, yet full of soul." You see in here a suggestion of the esoteric meaning of Mithraism. While some scholars have argued that the Mithraic ritual may not be actually of Mithraic origins, there's a variety of indications that many scholars of Mithraism and ancient texts think it actually is a Mithraic ritual. And some view it as a hybrid of Mithraic ritual and also Egyptian wisdom teachings together. Either way, you get those essential teachings of an esoteric nature that are revealed through the Rosicrucian studies. Just as we rose up to the cosmic, the Mithraic ritual also talks about the great ascent through the heavens, like that we see depicted before us here. Here again, we see on the left the astounding image of Mithras that was found in the temple site area, but also quite remarkably found in the buried site in a very fine carving is Serapis, Zeus, god of healing, a god that undertake the actions of Zeus, and associated like Mithras with the sun. The sun, but also deeply in the sense of our divinity. Not found at the site, but often associated with Mithraism, is the following remarkable figure, which you may have often seen depicted. Here we see the Mithraea Chronos, or some refer to as Zeravan Arcana, deity of endless time, associated with the Zoroastrian spiritual tradition. Mithraism is said to have its origins through Persia and ultimately Mithra of India, the god of the sun. But there's various adaptations over time that are particular to the Roman mystery traditions. You'll see the winding serpent with the wings associated with also the divine messenger and healing. This figure and sculpture has been found at some Mithraic temples and sites. Here we see a plan by archaeologists showing the orientation, which is generally to the eastward and be the symbolic east. We see the nave here, the aisles, somewhat similar to you see in churches. There's been often discussions about to what degree did Mithraism influence Christianity and vice versa. And there's certainly early Christian mystics and some early Christian theologians talk about the Mithraic rituals, but often ones where they're trying to say that you need to actually go the Christian route, whereas the more broad-minded approach is to see all spiritual traditions going deeply into the God within that we learn about through Rosicrucian laws and principles. But even through those polemics against Mithraism by Christian theologians, with care, we can still find out some suggestive things about the Mithraic tradition, rituals, and symbolism, in addition to the archaeology. One of the remarkable things about Mithraic temples and rituals, we know they had symbolic meals that they would do together, which I'll show you an image of soon. And through archaeology at some sites, that there's been found a chest, just like there was here at the Londonium or London site, where there was lots of bones, for example, chicken bones in it. There was a symbolic feast at the time of its dedication. And from the amount of bones in it, you get a sense of how many people were served the symbolic meal. And we know that it must have been greatly organized. Now, it's often mentioned with the Mithraic initiatic tradition. It was very popular among the Roman soldiers. That's true, but it was also very popular outside the Roman soldiery among people that were, for example, tax collectors and various business persons and others. We're fortunate the Roman site, it was actually a waterlogged site which actually preserved a lot of the artifacts. We actually have writings from that time in ancient Rome that are going on things as every day as a shopping list, the things about business transactions and shipments from across the English Channel into Europe. We find the wax tablets of writings and scrolls. We also find people's sandals and also women's jewelry. A remarkable snapshot and picture of those decades of around mid-13th century CE. We also know that this Temple of Mithras was later rededicated to the god Bacchus by the early 4th century. I want to show you another plan of this Temple of Mithras. You can see the detailed, painstaking, highly scientific work done by the English archaeologists with highly detailed surveying measurements. One thing that's advanced in surveying, of course, now is rapid ability to take measurements through computerized and laser technology in the theodolite. You can also reconstruct from buildings often the earlier unit of measurements, such as the Roman pesmontalis, which is associated with the goddess Juno Moneta. Everything was, in that sense, spiritualized in ancient Rome, and no different in the construction of this beautiful Temple of Mithras that caused such excitement back in the mid 20th century, as it rose phoenix-like from the ashes and ruins of the bombing during World War II. I'll show you now an artist's reconstruction of what it would have looked like inside. This is actually an illustration that's based on Houstead's on Hadrian's Wall, I mentioned earlier, in northern England. I've shown it so much lighter than it would actually have been, but you can get a better view here. So I was thinking that possibly the figures would be lying down, as was done in the Roman styles when they ate, and it initiates passing out the loaves of bread for their symbolic meal. We'll see on either side here the figures that are the celestial twins of light and darkness. So we see the law of duality that we learn about in Rosicrucian traditions, but also leading to the law of unity in the liturgical East. But these two figures, known as Cods and Cotopates, you notice they have their torches here, one up, one sort of more pointing down and one up, part of the duality and unity of nature. We know that there be certain sacred vowel sounds that would be uttered through some of the invocations that I mentioned to you, such as this one suggested by the Mithraic ritual. Silence, silence, silence. The symbol of the living God beyond decay. Oh, silence, silence. I am a star whose course is as your course, shining anew from out of the depths. Ooh, we continue in that way. Here's another depiction of the same scene, but in a darker light, give you a sense of more what it would have been like to actually been in there, in this symbolic cave, place of rebirth in a womb, and also a model of the cosmos. Here's another artist's depiction of an initiation. You'll see the use of the sword and the crown, which I'll tell you a little bit more as well, with the initiates witnessing on the side and the initiator. About to perform the transference of the inner esoteric current from the initiator to the initiate, and from initiate becomes the initiator, they pass it on as well. It gives you a sense of the atmosphere and also the sense of the vault of the cosmos above. And the profound action of sacrifice here in that passage that we go through in our own lives. Related to this is the initiatic and solar and astrological and astronomical symbolism. There's a variety of theories, and it's challenging. At Rosicrucian Park, we've had in the planetarium there the depiction of the Mithraeum mysteries and its stellar symbolism and cosmic symbolism. David Ulansey, a scholar, has put forward one theory that's associated with actually building on other scholars' earlier work, that the slaying the bull and the image has to do with knowledge of the precession of the equinoxes. Great passage from Piscean age to the Aquarian age, for example, and that part of the initiate knowledge that was passed. There's many that have argued that may not be the case. I'll give you a reference from the important science historian J.D. North on that, if you'd inclined to look into a detailed scholarly work on these matters. We'll see before us here, though, the depiction on the left, again, of the tauroctony and its various symbols with animals. And you notice quite remarkably the bull's tail changes into sheaves of wheat. And we see the cave, that the sacrifice is taking place within the cave, which is the temple itself. Mithraeum is a cave. You know, see the solar figure, the moon, for the moon, for example. The scorpion, snake, dog, and I've named these figures earlier, some identified with zodiacal symbols. We know from some later writings from Roman philosophers, for example, they mention some about the Mithraic mysteries. Some scholars question how accurate their writings are. Some take it that they're quite correct in what they're saying. This is part of the challenge of doing historical research. You'll notice on the right here from a handbook on archaeoastronomy. I think many of you are fascinated by archaeoastronomy. It's the marriage of archaeology and astronomy. And great care needs to be taken with it because when we're matching up things in the heavens over time, it's easy to get alignments, but we have to work carefully and work with the textual and archaeological evidence in that regard. But here, by one scholar is pointing out how the Temple of Mithras is sort of an ideal design based on the temple at Ostia. I think many of you may have visited the Roman ruins there. Ostia being a part of ancient Rome. But you see how similar with the suggested symbolism of the Turioctony, that there's the symbols of the zodiac going around the plan of the temple. There's also the symbolism with the planets, the traditional planets, east, west, north, and south associated with the two solstices and the two equinoxes. You can imagine as an initiate and witness coming down through a dark passage into this temple and cave model of the cosmos, which mirrors us as a microcosm. Similarly, at Ostia, there's kept some mosaics. I mentioned some of these other Roman sites in addition to the London Mithraeum to try to give us build-in context of what would have been seen and understood, because there was a lot of consistency across the Roman Empire in how the Mithraeums were built and designed and their symbolism. They had the equivalent of what we would call today ritualistic directors, and that knowledge would be passed on. And you see a variety of intriguing symbolism along here. They'll be part of the steps of initiation. And in this, pulling this image together even more for you, you notice the passage here, particularly through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps here with initiation, and certain important symbols here for the beginning and the culmination that the initiate would pass through. To describe this a little more to you, here's a table from one of the articles that we have in the Rosicrucian Digest special issue on the Mithraic mysteries. You'll see on the left a column for the grade of initiation, the first 4 grades, the lesser mysteries, passing to the greater mysteries, as one proved sufficiently ready, mature, and responsible. Now, some of the elements here are pulling together statements that are from later writers in the ancient period, and some scholars question them. They're pulling together information from other mystery traditions of ancient Rome. They make a plausible case, and some I think is quite accurate. And you'll see the title of the degrees from Corax, Nymphius, Miles, Adept, to Perses, Pelodromus, and to Pater, father or parent. And the symbol of the crow, remember we saw the symbol of the crow earlier? Here. There's also this various symbols we saw in the mosaics. For example, culminating with the curved knife and the Pyrrhenian cap that's on Mithras here, Pyrrhenian cap, but also here in the mosaic, you'll see the cap and the curved knife. So there's a nice matching up here. But then associated with the planet, both of the cosmos, but also the inner cosmos, which we are, and also the associated constellations. Again, identifying the microcosm that we are, the initiate, with the cosmos, the cosmic mind. Again, then we return back here, the inspiring figure of Mithras, which in a way, a symbol of the cosmic sense, the perfect divine being. that we increasingly work with as we identify as Rosicrucians and as students with the divine within. So we've had an overview of this beautiful, inspiring temple and its reconstruction of the Temple of Mithras. And we partake of, in our own passage in our Rosicrucian tradition, of parallel initiations. And this is a way earlier traditions that have built up from the Rosicrucian traditions that we're fortunate to have now in our forebearers. We've also looked at the inspiring concept of the temple as a reflection of our own divine work here on earth, but also as we increasingly identify with the cosmic and the divine laboratory of the cosmos, of which we seek to be self-masters and servants within. At this time, I'll ask Karen to post for you in the chat the resources, and also as a PDF, which you may find. Now again, reviewed the awe-inspiring concept of the temple and how to become a master in the holy temple and the work in the divine laboratory. And we've explored Rosicrucian laws and principles in our meditation and our discussion of the Mithraeum temple, both as a particular example, but also as a universal concept. Let us, however, be vigilant for the great lessons that are ever around us. Thank you very much for joining us today.